The finale episode of Adventure Time made me remember something from a previous season. There was this one episode called Shh, and at the end of the episode it featured a dedication card to someone. And I did some research. He's an animator and a writer, and in 2013, unfortunately, he passed away from a car accident. Let me ask you, do you know who he is? His name is actually Armin Mirzayan. He's an animator who storyboarded for Adventure Time. In the finale episode, we saw Fern finally reconciling with Finn, but Fern eventually dies and the seed he left grew into a tree. And just like how Fern said his final goodbye to Finn, Armin seemed to have suddenly faded away from all of us as well. It's terrifying. Well, I'll be honest, I aspire to be some sort of animator or storyboarder as well. But the fact that you could be animating this one moment, and in the next moments die from a car accident is a rather scary thought. Like, the sudden death lottery doesn't care whether you aspire to be an animator, whether you want to make the next greatest animated TV show, or whether you're a withering plant with wilting eyes that gaze back at you with a painful smile. It strikes whenever it wants to. But when we think about random accidents that manage to kill us, pretty much death in general, we aren't really afraid of dying, but we're afraid of a fact that will be forgotten. I think the scene with Bimo trying to recall Finn's name at the beginning of the finale episode perfectly encapsulates this feeling. Finn and Jake and the people surrounding Bimo are the people he cherishes deeply and whom he loves in return. But 1,000 years later, the name of the people who loved him so much barely slipped out of his mouth correctly in what is probably one of the saddest scenes in Adventure Time.
It belonged to my best friend, Fred.
Fred!
No, not Fred. His name was Phil.
We're afraid of being forgotten. The finale song, Time Adventure, references this fact. The chorus, "Will happen, happening, happened," seemed to be a direct reference to the life cycles of people, the rise and falls of different characters through time, how our present world made way to the characters in Oo, and how the characters in Oo made way for the world that Shermie, Beth, and the Ice Thing and all of us future folks live in. Will happening, happening, happened is kind of a reminder to us all who believe that our ideas, our consciousness, and our goals will last forever, but in fact will fade away from existence once we're gone. Just like how Fern once believed that his life rested on him taking revenge on Finn, but then faced a reality where he will just wither away and die as if he's nothing. What if everything we do is pointless? YouTube will die someday and the videos will go with it. Finn and Jake, who are probably long dead, will one day escape the mind of Bimo. Armin's storyboarding work on the show will be forgotten as Adventure Time fades away from our memories. But there's something that points out that this way of thinking isn't right. Let's look at Jake in the finale. The treehouse was destroyed, everything seemed pointless, the cherished memories of the last 10 years or so, and the homey shit of Bimo, Finn, Shelby, Neptune now lies in a pile of rubble. But Bimo came up to him and...
It's okay, Jake. You always try to protect me and Finn. How about today, you let me be the papa?
So why is everything not pointless? One thing I didn't tell you guys about Armin is the episodes he storyboarded. It's a season 1 episodes, Business Time, The Jiggler, and What's Life. And like many other cartoons, these episodes gave us a laugh and a happy time. Taking part in storyboarding these episodes, Armin made an impact on us by creating a story that we could smile and relate to. Fern's no longer with Finn in the mortal world, but his presence and his emotional impact lived on. That impact is a last-minute yet heartwarming reconciliation that brought some degree of peace for Finn. Because Fern finally saw himself not as a worse version of Finn, not as a better version of Finn, but as equals, as brothers, which is what, in the start, both Finn and Fern truly are. Adventure Time could have been a show about anyone. It could have been a story about the first human settlers. It could have been about the adventures of Finn and Jake, or it could be a slice of life about Shermie and Beth. Each story will be full of its unique characters. They will all be broken branches flowing through the stream of experience and life. And they will form very human relationships with one another. But in the grand scheme of time, As we saw within Adventure Time, the characters from one timeline do not know nor even care too much about the characters from another timeline. And that kind of tells us that we won't be remembered forever. Time will erode everything we do solely for ourselves. That exam grade you've got that one time, and that video game achievement that you've got will be forgotten by everyone. But though we're pretty much nothing in the grand scheme of things, Armin the Storyboarder and Fern the Grass Kid showed us that we still have a power to overcome that fear of death, that fear of being forgotten. And it's a power to make an impact to those around us. To be there to make an impact for one another at this present moment. Because if we were to kick the bucket tomorrow, this present moment might as well be all that matters. Time is an illusion that makes it seem things will last forever. But life is happening, has happened, and will happen, again and again. So you and I will always be back then, which is right now, at this moment, because what matters more than fretting over existence is making the impact you'll currently make on me, and the impact that I have made on you today. We'll be there for each other, again and again, because you and I will always be back then.
Will happen, happening, happen. Will